Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving a Porsche 550 Spyder, sort of. This is a recreation. It's a replica made by Beck. So, unfortunately, this is not a $6, $7, $8 million Le Mans winning car. It's certainly not James Dean's car. But what's amazing is that Beck has created a renowned replica that people have a lot of respect for. This isn't that common in the world of exquisite, outrageous cars when it comes to recreations. A lot of times they're looked down upon, especially in the world of Ferrari. We've seen lots of 250 replicas and things of that nature when they're not even based off of the original car. For example, we drove a Ferrari California Spyder, but every piece of that car was actually from Ferrari. They just chopped the body of a GTE and did a bunch of other stuff to make it look the same. But when we look at cars that are completely non-Porsche, non-Ferrari, a lot of times they just look a little funny, and this doesn't. This holds up. I mean, sure, if we put the real deal side by side, we could start to nitpick some little things. But I gotta tell you, I feel really cool driving down the street in the Beck Spyder, and it costs like 50 grand. You know, the spectrum of auction prices I've seen anywhere from like 35 to 70, 80, whatever, but we're talking about sub $100,000 in a lot of cases for these cars. And the real deal is $6 million. I mean, that's limiting. There's not very many people that can A, own one, and B, even if you own one, drive it. So what do we got here? So a typical 550 Spyder would have a 4-cam, 4-cylinder air cooler. This is a 4-cylinder air cooler, but it's a 2165cc Volkswagen engine mated to a 4-speed transaxle. So overall, granted, it doesn't have the 4-cam setup of the expensive car, but it moves. This has 160 horsepower, of course, rear-wheel drive, and it weighs next to nothing because this body is fiberglass. And even being fiberglass, it's so small that there's just so little car to deal with. You've got a steel chassis that goes through here, but you know, there's not much in the way of safety. These gorgeous patinaed seats look really good. And by the way, can you guess when this was made? This was made in the year 2000. So this is a 2000 Beck 550 Spyder. Very cool. I'm sure there's lots of consternation about putting like Porsche badges on these things, but I think this imitation is quite flattering. So let's take a look around, because now that you know she's a fakey-do, it's pretty cool. Let me show you in the back first, because this is one of my favorite things about 550 Spyders, about the Beck Spyder. It's that you get a big old clamshell. And I love that I can tell just by some of the scratches and swirls and things on this car, it's been used. Whoever had this car genuinely loved it. We'll pull up on here a little bit, and we'll come around this side with these big honking hips. And this folds right back. And then, oh, you're gonna love this hood prop. Check this out. It matches the strut. So you put that right there on top of the strut. How cool is that? And there you have it. You've got your carburetors, you've got your big honking throttle right here, and then a transaxle powering the rear wheels. No heat exchangers here. Obviously, you're not going to get heat in this car. It doesn't matter. You wouldn't drive it unless it was sunny. And your exhaust straight out to a single exit, which looks so menacing, even on this small, cute little thing. That's what's wild, is it's so cute, but yet somehow so angry. And while Honda can't seem to fit a spare tire in the back of their new Civics, they managed to fit a spare tire in the back of the Beck Spyder. What's great too is we've got disc brakes all around, no drums, makes you feel a little safer. So, you know, I guess you could call these things upgrades. And on this side, we've got our battery. It's just an accessible, easy thing to look at. If you've ever wondered, are my axles okay? Are the boots leaking? Well, you can come right back here and take a look. This is a great home-built, kind of DIYer sort of car if you'd like to own one. And my favorite feature of this engine compartment is there's a little block here with extra spark plugs. Okay, so just some interesting, cute storage back here. And I love buckling. I love buckling leather straps on classic cars. This is just, that is oddly therapeutic and satisfying. And the best part is they even put this little strap here so it doesn't hit the paint. I've seen 550, authentic 550s, where you've really got to be careful because they'll just let this drag down and hang. Up front, we've got some storage and a fuel tank and your fuel filler, which can be accessed from here, which is actually really nice, because on a Porsche Speedster, for example, you actually do have to prop up the frunk in order to get to that. So we'll make sure that's nice and tight. And then we'll come around here. It is very difficult to find, but there's a little latch down there. You just push it to the side. And with our hood prop, we'll pop this right here. There's your fuel tank. There's a little bit of storage. We're going to bring most of my stuff into the cabin just in case anything goes wrong. I would like to not lose my cameras. But that's the deal. What's great about these cars is just the lore, because honestly, these were cool Le Mans cars. They're really great examples of Porsche's history. But because of James Dean's tragic death, they gained this Widowmaker, death trap thing about them that makes people love them even more and mourn a legend, a movie star, and a person that people really looked up to. But a lot of people think that James Dean died racing this car. Now, he did race these cars. He raced speedsters, and he was taking his Spyder, I believe, to a race to go racing, but he died on the highway. He was at a stop sign, and he pulled out, and someone hit him. And no one really knows who did what, but he was hit and he did not make it. The car is a tin can. You can look at these doors and think, imagine being T-boned by anything in this. And that's exactly what we are going to try to avoid today. Now, while it's a small cabin, the footwell is very open, so you've got this great little pedal box down here, and actually leaves you a good amount of room to drive. So let's start it up, take it for a ride, and I'll show you what 160 horsepower flat 4 looks like cranking down the road in 2024. To start the Beck Spyder, we've got our key over here in the center of our dashboard. We've got oil temp, fuel, our tack, and our speedo. This one's reading 35,000 miles on the clock. We'll pull it out of first. We've got our throttle, our brake, and our clutch. Everything's very normal. This switch right here is for your windshield wipers, and we'll add a little bit of throttle. Starts right to life. You've got a little red light down there. I'm pretty sure that's just to say, like, hey, it's being underdriven at a certain RPM, meaning that you're not charging the battery. Usually that's just like a little warning light you see in the Porsche world. Blinker stock. And there you go. It does not self or auto return, so you need to be aware of that. There's your high beam flash to pass, and a horn button, because this does nothing. That's a very ornate, interesting thing. I'm curious if that's a Beck thing or if that's just from the owner, who I believe lived on the coast. All right, we'll put a seatbelt on, and to get it into reverse, it's a down and back, but look how far back that goes. So you kind of got to scoot out of the way a little bit. And then a normal H-pattern 4-speed. Plenty of punch with not a ton of power. Oh, look at that. I see an old, maybe a 964 911 ahead of us, hiding in the trees. Very cool. This thing's quick. Listen to that. Oh my God, it's so guttural and brutal. You know, it's funny because you look at it and say, oh, it's just a Volkswagen engine, but this thing sounds angry. Listen to that. here's the trick. It's tough to see. Thing rips. This is what you want to drive all the time. Oh my goodness. Why did cars get so heavy? This is the perfect example of like, hey, remember when things were light and didn't have 10,000 pounds to drag along with you? Now, of course, the danger is that if I rear end that pickup truck, I'm gonna get a face full of trailer hitch. You know, there's no safety in this thing. So you've got to be hyper aware at all times. You don't want to be distracted. You want to be driving and driving defensively. But it's worth it. Changes direction so immediately. I mean, it's so bizarre having to adapt to a car that's this light because it just does what you ask it to do without any questions. So while we crawl through town, let me tell you about the steering. It's manual, it's light, you feel everything through it because there's nothing between you and these wheels and tires. The clutch is tactile. I can feel exactly where it's catching. This gearbox, you know, pretty tight for a little Volkswagen. Not bad. This transaxle really is winning me over. It's precise and it's easy to figure out. The suspension, okay, we're clunking over that a little bit. There's more give than you'd think. Over road imperfections. It actually absorbs most of the things, probably through the tires, because there's a good bit of sidewall. But, you know, this is a time when we had, well, this is a time. I mean, they've dialed in a bit of body roll. Not a lot. It's fairly flat, but it's not just, but it allows me to lean into the car a little bit to figure out where the grip is going to be. The brakes, you got to dig into that pedal a little bit, but it's immediate. You don't need a lot of braking power for a car this light, so a little bit of brakes goes a pretty long way. And the throttle, the first maybe crack of the throttle, it has just a little bit of like force that you need to break through. I don't want to say sticky, that's not the right word, but you just got to break through a little bit of that force. So sometimes I do feel like I'm giving a slightly imperfect throttle input, but you get used to it, you just lean on it and break through it smoothly. The engine just revs instantly and freely, giving me precise heel toe downshifts when necessary. This is why I want a Caterham 7 so badly, because it's just you in the car, and it's so precise, but it's old school, but it's not scary to drive. It's easy, it's dangerous, but it's easy, and there's no worry about, oh, I need to adapt to the engine and the rev hang and the computer so it can handle all of its emissions BS. No, I understand we need that stuff. I'm not complaining that we have cleaner air in cars, but the sense of driving and proper engagement with the car is missing from a lot of modern things. And in a modern Porsche, you need to drive really fast to get any sense of being near the limit. Not in this. This is skinny little tires, and it's just immediately entertaining. Sense that you need to be fairly cautious about your inputs and how you chuck the car in. If you upset this, it'll probably spin like a top, and it's just not where you want to be in a car that you really can't afford to lodge into a set of trees. So you want to be pretty confident about what you're about to do before you do it. Don't want one of those falling on me. That's pretty big. Well, I have had the absolute time of my life shouting at you over the windows and exhaust of this Beck Spyder. I don't care that this isn't the authentic $6 million experience. That's okay, because what it does is it kind of democratizes a very special feeling of being in a small, nimble, lightweight sports car from the 1950s and 60s that is just not available to the normal public. And thankfully, this has taken these bumps pretty good. These roads aren't fantastic, but you know, even though it's small and it's a tin can, it's still getting over the imperfections pretty darn good. So, sure, is this the exact same experience? No, we don't have a 4-cam in the back, but remember, that 4-cam comes at great expense. Just having that engine service can be 6 figures. So, pick your poison. If you've got the money, you've got the means to have the real deal, by all means, go and do it, drive the car, enjoy it. But I will not, I repeat, I will not be snubbing the Beck Spyder. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and please go out and get some new automotive taste and figure your way around the world of cars, because I'll tell you, there's a lot out there, and they're fantastic. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks to Bond Group for this experience. This is a real charming one. I would love to take this out to an autocross, an empty parking lot, some cones, and really figure it out. Because, like, I gotta tell you, while it's okay to push it through some corners, I'm not fully sure how quickly it'll snap off throttle and some other things, and I would love to learn how to kind of back one of these into a corner. You just need a safe environment to do it.